The Snow Leopard. Long ago, when the world was ice and snow, Torak and his tribe lived among the mountains north of the river. The storytellers of Torak's tribe said that many generations ago, the tribe lived on vast plains, warm and green, far to the south of the river. Then nature changed and snow covered the grass all year. So the tribe walked north, across the solid ice of the sleeping river to hunt the wild goats in the mountains, and to find a new home in stone and ice. This was the only land Torak knew in all his 20 years. But nature was changing once again. Over the years, the tribe had watched as the river slowly woke from its long sleep and remembered how to move. The tribe knew that there were fewer wild goats in the mountains now, and the tribe knew that the snow leopard was hungry. It began to stare down at them from the jagged outcroppings of the mountains for long hours, an impending avalanche of bloody fangs and terrible death. Torak stood his shifts with the others of the tribe. To keep watch was to understand the futility of keeping watch against new danger. The snow leopard was a ghost against the landscape of snow patches and dark rock. It prowled the edges of their world, encircling them like a snare. The shaman, an elder with faded eyes like melting ice, gathered the tribe in the largest cave. "The time has come," he intoned. "Nature speaks, and we must pay heed. Life flows and ebbs. Even as life has returned to the river, it is leaving these mountains. Nature tells us that life returns in the lands beyond the river, in the lands of our stories. We must leave where life leaves. We must return to where life returns." Torak voiced his reluctance. "But the river is cruel and cold. Can we not find a way to stay here? Can we not find a way to make peace with the snow leopard? Or can we hunt it and remain safe here?" His gaze drifted out and down the slope toward the menacing waters. The shaman shook his head slowly, his faded eyes fixed on Torak. "Nature speaks in the tongue of change, not in words of bargain, Torak." In the days that followed, the tribe began to cross the river, but Torak lingered. "Perhaps the edge is enough," he mused to himself. "Perhaps I can meet the green grasses halfway. Perhaps if I wait here at the riverbank, the land will come to me?" From a sharp ledge high overhead, the snow leopard watched the exodus, understanding and not understanding. Within a few days, only one human remained on the riverbank. The snow leopard moved slowly down the mountain slope, watching from ever closer stations. The human spotted the snow leopard often and would throw rocks and sticks until the snow leopard retreated back to the mountains. But the snow leopard was hungry, and had learned from the mountains that patience feeds hunger in the end. Torak knew that his sticks and stones could not keep him safe forever. The beast's golden eyes promised relentless returns with absolute finality. Hours passed as Torak stood, alone, huddled in furs on the high riverbank. He stared down at the dark waters. He stared and he tried to see himself wading across between chunks of ice. He stared and saw himself shivering and stumbling in the freezing waters. He stared and tried not to see himself slipping and vanishing forever under the water near a frothing rapid. As he tried to see what wasn't, he failed to see what was. The snow leopard was not watching the water. Torak heard a twig snap and a rock clatter, and he turned his back to the river and saw the ghost of the mountain flying toward him over tufts of scrub grass and sheets of icy shale. But now the ghost's mouth was a cave of violence, and Torak saw death and doom before him as surely as he felt it behind him. Torak's world narrowed to a single moment, one single point of decision. He leapt into the frigid embrace of the possibility of a future. The cold water was a shock, but terror pushed him to step forward through the icy waters. He remembered the fangs of the snow leopard and pushed himself to step again. He quickly found his footing in the slick rocks of the riverbed and took another step. He looked up across the river to the far shore and stepped again. The water grew deeper around him until he could no longer touch the riverbed, and he paddled his arms frantically, the current pushing him downstream. His feet flailed wildly like his heartbeat, his toes pointed in searching kicks for ground and rock. As he kept his eyes on the far shore of the river, determination grew within him, leaving no more room for terror. He let his fear sink to the bottom of the river, joining his indecision in a watery grave somewhere far below his feet. Before he knew it, his toes touched new pebbles and then larger rocks, and he had footing once again. The snow leopard skidded to a stop at the edge of the riverbank and looked down at the human who almost disappeared under the dark waters and then re-emerged on the other side. The snow leopard watched, understanding and not understanding. Gasping and battered, Torak dragged himself onto the far shore. The land of promise was still a long journey away. The first day was the hardest, for it was the loneliest as Torak ran to rejoin his tribe. Then there were tests, a dance of trial and error with the new land's unfamiliar bounty. But there were small victories each day, and after many days, when Torak first bit into the sweet taste of wild fruit, he did not think of the dark waters of the river. The tribe flourished in the new land, and they began to tell their stories of the cold mountains far to the north. The river, once a terrible and impassable barrier, now flowed in the memories of the tribe as the line between what was and what could be. On peaceful days, Torak gazed out at the beautiful rivers made by the warm wind in the tall grasses of his new home. And in those quiet moments, he whispered a prayer of gratitude for the snow leopard, the ghost of the mountain.